for our 69th meeting, Reading Urantia Book with Heidi. We keep reading the forward, section 2, God. Okay, Heidi, turning the ground to you.
Okay, thanks, Rick. Greetings, Urantians, past, present, and, well, not past, present and future. We're going to tackle section 2 of the forward, starting right now. Okay, God, number 2. Evolving mortal creatures experience an irresistible urge to symbolize their finite concept of God. Man's consciousness of moral duty and his spiritual idealism represent a value level, an experiential reality, which is difficult of symbolization.
你可以读中文吗？
OK， 来，我 OK。神进化中的凡人塑造物感到有一种不可抗拒的冲动，要用符号来表示他们对神的有限概念。人的道德责任、意识和灵性理念代表了一种价值层次，一种经验性实相，这很难象征化。Okay.
Okay. I'm just going to read. I'm going to read quickly the next paragraph. But don't read it after me, just because sometimes the next one helps you understand the one before it. Cosmic consciousness implies the recognition of the first cause, the one and only uncaused reality. God, the uttermost part on 3D. Okay, so evolving mortal. This one's clear. Evolving mortal creatures experience an irresistible urge to symbolize their finite concepts of God. So they're saying, first of all, they're saying that our concepts of God are finite, which is strange because God isn't finite. God is infinite, obviously. But I think they're saying that as we evolve, because we're finite creatures, we have finite concepts. I think that's what they're saying. So they're saying, but they're okay, go ahead.
对，神本来是无限的嘛，但是因为我们是有限的，我们是进化中的凡人嘛，我们是有限的塑造物，所以我们对神的理解呢、概念呢，一定是有限的。
And they're saying evolving mortal creatures. So maybe that implies that I mean that could be anything. That could be very primitive creatures all the way to all the way to Urantia creatures. So maybe they're saying maybe that means that as we evolve, our concepts of God can conceivably become less finite, because they are saying evolving. They're not saying mortal creatures experience an error. They're saying evolving mortal creatures. So maybe they're implying that it's natural to have finite concepts of God as we evolve. Maybe that's what they're saying. And maybe they're saying if we evolve further, they'll be less finite. That's a possibility.
对它，并且不光是就是凡人塑造物，它还用了 evolving 进化中的凡人啊，进化中，那么相当于涵括从那个很原始的动物阶层，一直到这个灵智性灵智体哈，这个所有这些的进化的过程，那么大概是就是 意表着随着我们的进化，我们对神的理解也会慢慢的更脱离有限性。
So we know that we know from studying history that the concept of God is universal.
Is or is not universal?
It is, all cultures have some kind of deity or God, or as far back as we know in the Urantia book says, in very primitive times, they used to think that, mist or fog was, I think the concept of God evolves, but it starts pretty early on.
对神的这个概念，应该比较各个文化呀，各个进化的层次都比较的普遍，都有神的概念。
I mean, of course, it starts, it very often the concept of one God starts later. But, the concept, I'm just talking about the concept of God in general, like higher powers,
对，就是普遍意义的，认为就是在人之上有一个统治的这个更大的力量的来源，这个概念是普遍的，但是一个神的这个概念是后来才有的。
But then the sentence says that evolving mortal creatures experience an irresistible urge to symbolize their finite concepts of God. So what they're saying is that it's an irresistible, so it's imprinted in our DNA. So we have an irresistible urge we probably have an irresistible urge to symbolize a few things, but one of them is definitely God. We have an irresistible urge to symbolize our concepts of God. So we want to create symbols to represent our concept of God.
对，那么这个地方说哈，就是用符号来表达对神的有限概念，这种的冲动是不可抗拒的，就是说它是印在我们的 DNA 里边的，他就是很想用符号来表达他们对神的概念。
我突然想到 ，sorry，I just have one comment on the evolving, because I remember the 7 psychic cycle.
Circles, yeah.
Yeah, a circle. Circles. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what is your
That's
comment?
also symbolize evolution. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
the evolution
also.
of a mortal being.
Yeah. Spiritual evolution.
Well, also the psychic circles are partly, the psychic circles are a little bit are definitely, we're more likely, well, I'm not even sure, because they talk about more spiritual ages and less spiritual ages. Psychic circles are more of a very personal thing. I mean, people thousands of years ago were able to reach their all 7 psychic circles, and people today we're not necessarily that much more, they're more of a personal level. Although certain eras are more spiritual than other eras, but they're not mapped directly to evolution.
对，这个进化的概念往往更是从群体的大的集体层面的。那么这个7个心灵圆圈呢，它的达成往往指的是个人层面的一个心灵成长。在过去非常原始的人类非常原始的时代，也有人达到 心灵圆圈比较高的级别，所以现在好像人类文明进展到今天，但是不一定大部分人那么就是属灵，那么灵性方面进化的很好。
Well, I shouldn't say they're not mapped to evolution. They're mapped to your own personal evolution.
对，这个心灵圆圈更是就个人层面的进化程度。
So I too many Neanderthals, reached their first psychic circle, so obviously you have to have a certain level of consciousness, but there were eras in the past where maybe there were a lot of wise and spiritual people, and then when the world became extremely materialistic, like at the height of the materialistic age when this book was being written, there may have been less. I'm just guessing.
当然，在整体意识水平就没有达到一定程度之前，这个跨圈啊，这心灵圆圈这个程度上进化，就是很难去，可能很少有人去达到这个圈儿，但是就是即使在这个原始时代，大概也是有很明智的属灵的人，他是可以在远古时代还是有人能达到很高的灵性水平的。现在这个物质主义达到极致，比如说这个书成书的年代，那个大概就是很少人能够这个征服心灵圆圈儿，但是从那以后大概灵性回归了，是不是有更多的人其实走上灵性道路，大概达到更高心灵圆圈，是不是开始变多了？
But now that we seem to be reaching a more spiritual age, finally, I would guess that perhaps more people will achieve more psychic circles than in the previous materialistic era. I would hope.
对，他说，随着这个灵性时代来临，大概更多的人大概就是开始就是在达成那个他们的心灵圆圈方面取得成就。
Okay. So man's consciousness of moral. Okay. So then it says man's consciousness of moral duty, his spiritual idealism represent a value level, an experiential reality, which is difficult of symbolization. So I think they're saying in the second sentence that we have an irresistible urge to symbolize our concepts of God, but our consciousness of moral duty, and our spiritual idealism, which are directly correlated with God. They emanate from God, and they're tied to they're not completely tied to God consciousness, because you can have an atheist can have a consciousness of moral duty and spiritual idealism, but spiritual idealism tends to be even more correlated with God.
这个灵性理念，往往跟就是那道德责任意识啊、灵性理念啊，都可以从神那里就是发散出来的，尤其是灵性理念。就是无神论者呢，当然他也可以有某种道德责任意识。
I mean, spiritual idealism seems to be correlated more with God consciousness than moral duty, because moral duty can be an innate God consciousness, but it can also be a social construct. You know, I mean, you can have moral duty is a cultural, societal thing as well. So I mean, every culture has its mores, has its do's and don'ts, rights and wrongs. But I think they're talking about more of an innate feeling of right and wrong, and spiritual consciousness that is tied, because they're saying this sentence right after the other one. So I think they're tying it to God consciousness.
讲到这道德责任意识，也是内在的、固有的，就是每个社会啊、文化呀，它都有这么一套系统，这么可做，那个不可做，然后是正确的、错误的这些观念。但是呢，灵性理念就是更反映的是就是神的意识，是从那个发散来的。
So they're saying that this spiritual idealization and moral duty, we actually experience it. It's part of our reality, but it's difficult for us to symbolize it. It's like, I think they're saying it's so innate, it's so deep within us, like the urge to know God. It's so sort of wired into our DNA. It's hard for us to I think when they say symbolize it, I think they're talking about putting it into words. And I think for them, because in other places in the book, they talk about word symbols and things like that. So I think that they mean it's hard that it I think they're saying it kind of remains abstract for us. It's hard for us to nail it down.
对，那个灵性理念呢，道德责任意识啊，就是可以好像冲出我们的经验啊，冲出我们的实相，但是因为这个东西太固有了。是我们固有的一个东西，就是很难去把它用语言来表达，因为语言它也是一个象征符号嘛。那么对我们来说是很抽象的。
Yeah, you see a little further down, they say God is a word symbol designating all personalities of deity. So when they talk about symbols, they often talk about word symbols. To them, they see words as symbols, as words symbolize meanings.
对，神这个词呢，就是一个语言符号啊，相当于说到这个符号的时候，实际上就是代表一定的意义。
We don't normally think of words as symbols but the Urantia book teaches us that words are symbols of meanings.
对，我们很少把这个语言跟符号联系起来，但是在《预言下之书》当中，语言就是一种符号，语言象征意义。
So the point, I think that what they're trying to say is in short, we have an irresistible, innate urge to symbolize, to describe, and to symbolize God, but moral duty, spiritual idealization, the things that are associated with God are very hard to symbolize.
对，就是这意思，就是凡人他有不可抗拒的冲动呢，想要描述神，但是呢又很难 在这个我们的道德责任意识啊和灵性理念这个架构下面去描述和表达。
I think they may be trying to tell us that this is one of the reasons that our concept of God is so primitive or so incomplete, maybe.
对，以此来作为这个为什么我们对神的理解和描述表达就是非常原始啊，非常的不完全、不完整。
I mean, our concept of God, is very vague. We have to admit that. Not necessarily on a personal level, but on a cultural level, for sure.
对，我们得承认，就是我们对神的这个概念啊，非常的模糊、不确定，不光是在个人层面，在文化层面也是这样。
I mean, at other times, in various cultures, the concept of God has been very specific, but then it's usually completely erroneous.
在有些文化当中呢，他对神的描述太具体了，但是呢，也是不免于错误的。
Like the Greek gods were very specific, but they're not exactly representing the true God.
比如说那个希腊的众神，对，它是很具体的，但是呢，它不一定代表神。
And even the ancient Hebrew God was often very vengeful and, required blood sacrifice and very specific, but not accurate.
对，那像古希伯来的神，那么他又是那么富于报复性的，然后经常要求血祭啊，那个，这就是也是不准确。
So now we have evolved to the point where we still most people do have a concept of God, but it's very vague. So they're saying we have an innate desire to symbolize it, but it's very hard for us to do that.
对，现在在这个时代，很多人都有神的概念，但是就是非常模糊的。
You could say, when we say symbolize, you could even say to describe. It's hard for us to describe God in any way.
对，去符号化，也就是去描述，就是很难去描述这个神。
Even though we have an irresistible urge to do that.
对，虽然我们有不可抗拒的冲动去来描述。
Okay. Sorry. Next sentence. Next paragraph. Cosmic consciousness implies the recognition of a first cause, the one and only uncaused reality, God, the universal Father. Functions. Whoops. That's funny. There's a period. Well, maybe it looks like a typo. Oh no, I think it's supposed to be a comma. Anyway, usually you don't see many strange things in the Urantia book like that, but I think comma that just didn't print quite as the way it should. Okay, so I'll start again. Cosmic consciousness implies the recognition of a first cause, the one and only uncaused reality, God, the universal Father, functions on three deity personality levels of sub-infinite value and relative divinity expression. Number one, pre-personal. in the ministry of the father fragments, such as the thought adjusters. 2, personal, as in the evolutionary experience of created and procreated beings. 3, superpersonal, as in the eventuated existences of certain absentite and associated beings. Okay.
从2.2到2.5。
2.2，宇宙意识意味着对第一因的认同及唯一的无因实相神万有之父，在3种神灵人格的次无限价值和相对神性表达的层次上运作。1准人格的，如在复制片段的侍奉中，如思想调整者。2人格的，如在受造和繁衍的存有之进化经验中。3超人格的，如在某些界限和关联存有的终归存在中。Okay.
All right, thank you. So they're saying now they're talking about cosmic consciousness, which is, I think cosmic consciousness is something in the Urantia book. When they talk about cosmic consciousness, it's something we want to have. We don't all have. Higher beings have. We can have, but it's not. I don't think it's innate in an evolving person of cosmic consciousness. It's something we definitely arrive at some point in our evolution.
这个宇宙意识呢，在《与海夏之书》当中，这个提到宇宙意识的时候呢，就是往往那个意味就是我们是可以达到这个宇宙意识，是可以的，但是呢，我们还有一天可能就会达到的。但那高等的存有、高维存有，它是可以有这个宇宙意识的。对，就是说我们有一天也会达到的。但并不是我们现在每个人都有的。
I mean, in our personal spiritual evolution.
就是从那个个人灵性的革命，灵性的进化的角度。
So they're telling us what cosmic consciousness is.
这个地方就告诉我们什么是宇宙意识。
They're saying if you have cosmic consciousness, you recognize a first cause, a one and only uncaused reality. So, and a first cause is an if it's the first cause, then you can't say something else caused it. So it has no cause. It just is.
宇宙意识意味着对第一因的认同，第一因嘛，那么就在它之前就没有因嘛，所以也就是说是无因实相。
So every reality and every personality and every reality and everything has a cause. Everything we can trace back the cause. It came from somewhere, but they're saying if you are cosmically conscious, you recognize that there has to be a first cause. There has to be something that nothing. There has to be a first cause, a beginning, or a force that caused everything else.
所有的人格呀、实相啊，都是有因的，都是从某个源头来的。第一因呢，就是一个开头的一个力量，一个源头。
and it's tricky to even use the word beginning, because for us to imagine it, we have to imagine it as the beginning, as the first cause that caused everything else. And yet they say there is no beginning, that a first cause has no beginning. So it's tricky.
用开始这个词也是那个，也是就是借用而已，因为就是如果是无因的，它也就没有开始。
Even the Bible, when it describes God, it starts with the words "in the beginning."
对，像圣经呢，它描述神的时候，它也是开始说在起初，它也只能这么借用这个名词这么说。
So you could say that what cosmic consciousness is, it's an awareness of the concept that in the beginning there was no beginning.
对，宇宙意识相当于意识到那个概念，就是在起初是没有起初的。
So everything after God has a beginning. Well, that's not true. That's not true, because God creates beings that also have no beginning.
刚说在神之后的都是有起源的，有起头的，但是呢，他又否认了自己的说法，实际上还是有一些跟神一起的，大概是也没有起头的。
These what they're calling eventuated or absolute or ultimate reality beings and reality, that's what makes them ultimate, absolute, eventuated. They have no beginnings, and yet they have a creator.
像一些表达那个中规化的实相啊、局限的实相啊，这些它都是没有开头的，但是呢，它是被造的。
So finite beings, like material beings, and finite beings like we are, we have a creator and we have a beginning.
像我们这些的有限受造物，那么我们是有创造主，然后我们也是有开始的。
And everything in all the master universe except God has a creator.
在那个主宇宙当中，除了神，都是有创造主的，造物主的。
But God creates things with no beginnings.
但是就是神造万物是没有起头的。
I mean, this is somehow this is the concept of reality that exists beyond time. We live in a finite time space reality, but not all realities are finite. That's what makes the reality finite, I think, is the fact that it exists in time and space. When you get beyond time, you're no longer finite, and then you no longer have beginnings.
当然有在时间之外的实相，我们这个有限受造物现在是在一个有限的实相里。
So cosmic consciousness is the recognition that there is a first cause, that there is basically that there is a God, one and only, that there is a one and only uncaused reality, and that is God, the universal Father.
宇宙意识相当于就意识到这唯一的真神，唯一的就是没有因的实相，也就是天赋，宇宙天赋。
In other words, there's all kinds of religions that worship all kinds of gods, but they're not necessarily one universal, and they're not necessarily a father that which is your father, your creator. So when you get to the point where you understand that God is a father, he is your creator, and that there's only one universal father, universal creator, that's cosmic consciousness. That's what they're saying, I think.
并不是信神的呢，都是达到了宇宙意识的。你能意识到这个我独一的真神就是万有之父，就是造物主，那么这就算达到了宇宙的意识。
Well, actually, I was reading it a little wrong. I was reading two sentences in one because there's a strange typo in my book. But the forget the idea of the universal father. They're saying that cosmic consciousness is just the recognition of first cause, a one and only uncaused reality. They're not the universal father concept. They're talking about the father in the next sentence, but they're not saying that that's what cosmic consciousness is. I made a mistake. They're saying that cosmic consciousness, yeah.
OK， 他又纠正一下，就是局限把这个宇宙意识局限于它的第一句只要你就是承认有一个唯一的一个无因的终极实相，那么就算达到宇宙意识。那么万有之父的概念，它是跟下面那些段落联系的，跟这个宇宙意识没有关系。
So many people believe in a source of everything, a one and only first cause, a source of all reality, and that would be cosmic consciousness.
对，很多人呢承认有第一因，有就是一切实相的有这么一个终极的源头，那么这就算达到了宇宙意识。
But then they're saying that God, who is they're saying the first cause is the universal father, functions on three deity personality levels of sub-infinite value and relative divinity expression. So relative divinity expression. So they're saying that that on the sub-infinite level, there are three expressions that have relative, each one has relative divinity.
在下一句他又说，神万有之父在三种神灵人格的次无限价值和相对神性表达的层次上运作，就是这三种它都是相对的神性表达。
So I think what they're saying is this: God is personality. God is the source of personality, but he manifests in three deity personality level. In other words, personality always has some connection with deity. Because personality is a direct gift from God. So personality there's something, it is an expression of divinity, but it's not the complete expression like the personality of like God, which is infinite. These are sub-infinite values.
对，神呢，它是个无限的概念。那人格呢，它实际上是神灵的一种表达。我们说到神灵，说到人格的时候，它一定是跟神灵相关的。它在这三个有限的层次上，就是来表达无限的神格。
So they're saying one is pre-personal, 2 is personal, and 3 is super-personal.
对，这三个层次呢，叫一个是准人格的，第二种是人格的，第三种是超人格的。
So the pre-personal are like our thought adjusters. When we read the whole paper on the thought adjusters, so they explain that thought adjusters are not given personality like we are. They have will. They not given the gift of personality the way we are, and the idea eventually, if a thought adjuster can either merge with a person who has personality and then share their personality, or they can become a self-acting thought adjuster, at which time they receive personality.
对，思想调整者就是我们前面学过，他是没有人格的，但是他是有意志、有意识的存有。那么他思想调整可以跟一个人格去合并，然后呢，或者也可以成为自我行动的思想调整者，然后获得他的人格。
So they're called pre-personal because that means they will receive personality. They just haven't received it yet. Every thought adjuster is a fragment of God, but they're right now they're a fragment of God, but at some point they will have their own distinct personality, whether it's shared with us or their own, like a self-acting. So they're pre-personal because they will have personality.
Personal pre means 就是他们会接受那个人格，对，他就是到时候接纳我们的人格，跟我们人格合为一样，或者是他获得他自己的独特的人格，反正就是他会有一天他会人格化的，就是pre-personal 准人格的意思。
So there's probably some other types of beings also that are pre-personal, but the thought adjuster is the one that we know about.
思想调整者这是准人格当中的一种，还有其他的一些准人格的神灵。
The next one is person. Number 2 is personal, as in the evolutionary experience of created and procreated beings. So personal is it's not just humans, it's angels and higher beings, and many millions and millions of types of beings. We're all personal, which means we received a unique and distinct personality. Each personality is unique, and most will creatures with will have personality is usually tied with will, but not necessarily, because thought adjusters, they can make decisions. There's certainly no one is controlling them. They control themselves, but personality is usually tied to will, and most will creatures do have the gift of one distinct personality that is bestowed from God.
对， 对，那个不光是人类、凡人，还有天使啊，还有更高的存有啊，很多很多上百万种的存有啊，都是接受了特别的人格，意志受造物就是他们就是从造物主那里就得到特别的礼物，就是特别的人格。
And then they have, I mean, the personality, personality is like snowflakes. There's no two snowflakes are exactly the same. So personality means anyone you meet anywhere in the master universe, you'll never meet two beings that are exactly the same. If you have personality, there's some that sets you apart. It makes you a unique individual. And no matter how many billions or trillions of people there are no two that are exactly the same.
这个人格呢，就像那个雪片一样，雪花一样，没有任何的两个雪花是完全一样的。那么在宇宙当中，你找不到两个人格完全的相同，每个都是个别的、特别的，成千上百亿的，都是个别的。
And then there's a third category, which I don't think we understand it. I mean, I sure don't understand it very well, but it's called superpersonal. And it's the eventuated existence of certain absonite and associated beings. So they're saying now remember, the absonite beings we learned about last session are beings with no beginning. They're eventuated. They're beings, some kind of beings that exist, but that kind of always existed, or they somehow came into being, but they don't have a distinct beginning. So they're called eventuated, and they're absonite. They're not finite, they're absonite, because finite reality always has a beginning, but absonite reality doesn't have a beginning. So they're saying certain absonite and associated beings are super personal. So not all of them. You could, some absonite beings are personal, but certain absonite beings are super personal. And I don't think they're going to tell us what that means really, to be super personal.
那么最后这个超人格的，他说他也不理解。但是呢，就是有一些的觉现和关联存有的终归存在者的，他们就是属于超人格的。超人格的中规化的这些存有就是没有开始的，他们一直存在的不像我们有限的实相当中的造物，它是有开始的。那么这个地方就是说，有一些觉现的存有，他们就是超人格的，但是也有一些觉现存有是不是人格的。
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I was saying that I'm not sure if God is personal or super personal, but I would imagine God is super personal. He may just be extremely personal, but I would guess that God is super personal, but I'm not sure.
他是比较倾向认为神这个是超人格的。But to see the next paragraph, God is a word symbol designating all personalization of deity. So God is kind of within, inherent in all these personal types, I guess.
I know, I was just reading that. I just think they're saying that the word God describes all deity personalities, like all of them combined in one is God. All person. Well, we have to read that section. It goes into detail, but it
Yes.
doesn't really talk about, I mean, God is the source of personality. And they tell us in this book that God is a person. So God has personality. They tell us that in this book. So God, if you have personality, you are a person. And they say God is a person. So they're not really explaining to us what super personal means. God is the source of personality, but he is also a person. So we're just not sure. Because they don't really explain it. But if there are other beings that are super, whether God is super personal or personal, I don't know. But I'm not really sure what super personal means. I understand I kind of understand what pre-personal means. If they don't have personality yet, they will have personality. And I know what personal means. But super personal, they don't really explain it. I'm not sure maybe they explain it somewhere else in the book, but they don't explain it in this section. So I shouldn't really be guessing whether God is personal or super personal, because I just don't know.
他是说这个神呢是一切人格的源头，他又是一个人格，然后他也不太确定这个超人格呢到底是什么，所以他也不确定神呢是一个人格还是一个超人格，他在这个地方也没有展开谈，也许据说其他地方会展开谈这个。
I mean, we know that God is a person, and we know that he is the source of all personality, and we know that he bestows personality. So whether what could his personality, I mean, I can't, he's a person, so he has personality the same as we do. He is a person. God is, that's the problem so many religions and so many people make. They see God as a source, some kind of like ethereal source, like a big pile of gravity or something. They or spiritual starlight or whatever. But the Urantia book tells us again and again, God is a person. He is your father. And it seems like people who have near-death experiences, many of them feel like they meet God. And many people can have conversations with God, there's a person, God has a personality. I mean, but does God cry? Does God have feelings? Does he get mad? It's hard to say, but in a way, I think he kind of does. In a way, the Bible says he does. Jesus kind of implies that he prefers you to do his will than not do his will.
他就说这个神呢，在他看来他是有人格的，他还分有一些的灵性教导体制当中，就是 认为这个神是就是好像是那个很抽象的，像一团的引力场一样的。但是他认为神就是有他的人格。那么那些在濒死体验当中呢，很多人都坚信他们遇到神了，还能跟神对话啊。至于这个神呢，他有没有感觉？他就不知道了，因为耶稣他也预表过，他是倾向于就是希望人行他的旨意的，有一些的就是喜好啊，是他
So
说
we
的。
so we know that God is a person. So we know he has personality. But trying to understand the personality of God is probably not such an easy thing to do.
了解这个神的人格特性，不是那么容易的任务。
When sometimes I think that thought adjusters are pre-personal, and yet we know that they think, they plan, they work, they have desires, they want to become one with us, so they have a desire to do that. We know they have all these attributes that we would associate with personality, but they're pre-personal. And sometimes I think that because they're fragments of God, rather than not having a personality yet, they don't have a distinct personality yet, a gift of God, a unique personality, but they're part of all personality because they're part of God who is a person. So they're saying that they're pre-personal, and yet they're father fragments. They're a fragment of a being who is a person, who has personality. So I see them as kind of they don't have a distinct, they have personality, they have God's personality, but they don't have a distinct personality. That's how I see it.
思想调整者吧，被认为是准人格的，就是他们在我们那里，他有工作呀，有计划呀，也希望渴求与我们合为一啊，这都是他的一些的特质。然后他是神的父的片段啊，但是他还不是人格。人格是就是神给我们的特有的礼物。反正 anyway， 我觉得他也把自个儿讲糊涂了。
I see it like they all thought adjusters, all of our thought adjusters share the personality. They're part of God, so they share God's personality. So eventually they'll have their own unique personality, but right now they share, all millions and millions of them, they all share God's personality. That's how I see it.
他是认为思想调整者，因为他们是准人格的嘛，他们是共同分享这个神的人格啊。因为既然承认神是有人格的，那么这个思想调整者作为神的片段，他们是共享这个神的人格的。
They're not like robots.
不是这个像机器人一样。
You know, like a robot, we can make a robot highly intelligent, but they'll never have personality.
那机器人呢，可以非常的聪明，有智慧，有智力非常高，但是呢，它没有人格。You turn on your video.
I did it by mistake. So okay, so let's go to the next.
再继续。
God is a word symbol designating all personalizations of deity. Wait, maybe, okay. God is a word symbol designating all personalizations of deity. The term requires a different definition on each personal level of deity function and must be still further redefined within each of these levels, as this term may be used to designate the diverse, coordinate, and subordinate personalizations of deity. For example, the Paradise Creator Sons, the local universe fathers. Okay, Jen Shenli.
是 Anne，
Oh, Anne's reading?
2.6。
2.6，神是指代所有人格化神灵的文字符号，在每一个神灵职能的人格层次，这个词都需要不同的定义，而且必须在这些层次中进一步重新定义，因为这个词可以用来指代各种协调和从属的人格化神灵，例如天堂造物之子及地方宇宙之父。Okay.
So Anne, have you been reading the whole time today?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, you have such a sweet voice like Shen Li. You both have such sweet voices.
Yeah. They are the guardian angels of our reading group.
They really are.
对，他说你们两个声音都很甜美。我说你们两个是我们读书会的天使。
That's cute.
So that's your personality there. Sweet personality.
对，甜美的人格。
I think they're trying to okay, no one said the forward of the Urantia book was easy reading.
对，没有人说这个前言是容易读的。
We're trying.
We are crunching it piece by piece, bit by bit.
Yeah, we're doing the best we can, word by word.
对，就是前言没有人说前言是很好读的，我们一字一句的这样慢慢的磕。
So now they're trying to explain to us what the word God means.
那么他在进一步在解释这个词儿，这个神这个词儿它是啥意思。
And that's not such an easy thing to do.
这也是不容易的一个工作。
So they're saying God is a word symbol. So they see words as symbols because words are symbols, right? Words symbolize. We take a word, but it symbolizes something we all understand.
对，这是词汇、词语啊、文字啊，它是一个符号为了加强我们理解的符号。
So they're saying that God, the word God represents all the different personalizations of deity.
他说神这个词呢是指代所有人格化神灵。
So they're saying they're saying that each personal level of deity function requires a different definition.
他说在每一个神灵职能的人格层次啊，这个词都要有不同的定义。
They're saying you can't just give one definition for God, that there's different levels that require different definitions.
对，不同的神灵层次，它需要不同的定义。
and they're talking about the personal levels, because there's other levels of God that are impersonal, but they're saying that God is the personal creator, but he personalizes on various levels, and each personalization level requires a different definition.
对，就神它是一个人格化嘛，人格化神灵。那么在每一个人格化的这个层次，它就需要不同的定义。
But then they're saying that it must be further redefined within each level.
嗯，
In other words, we can't just give one definition for each level, that each level requires more definition, a few more definitions.
对，就每个人格层次当中都要进一步的重新定义。
So they're saying that because within these levels of personalization, God personalizes. God the Father, the Creator, exists on many personality levels, but they're saying within these levels there are coordinate and subordinate personalities of deity. They're still God, but they're separate personalizations. So for example, the Paradise Creator Sons, like Jesus Christ, our Creator Son, the Creator Son of our universe. There's their local universe fathers, but they are part of God. We can call them God also. The word God can include them.
对，你比如说这不足在我们的地方宇宙层次，我们有天堂造物之子啊，我们的耶稣基督啊，就是我们的地方宇宙之父，那么他也是这个神的一部分。
And
就
they're
是这个
saying
这个词 God 这个 God 这个词可以指代各种协调和从属的人格化神灵。他举的例子就是，比如说那个耶稣基督是我们的地方宇宙之父，那么他也是 God， 他也是一个人格化神的一个人格化。
So remember, this is the foreword of the Urantia book, and they explain in the top of the foreword. They're trying to tell us in the foreword how different words are used in this book. So they're saying that the word God is used in these papers with the following meanings. They're telling us how they're using the word God in the Urantia book.
对，这些术语就是定义这些词在什么情况下用，这些情况下用都是代表什么意义，他给这些术语下个定义。
So they're not telling us how the word God is used on Urantia or in the English language. They're telling us how they're using it in this book.
他不是告诉我们这个在远下上面这个词是什么意思，它就是指的在这本书里边这个意涵是什么。
So they're saying the term God, as we make use of it, I'm reading now, Anne. The term God, as we make use of it, may be understood by designation as God the Father, by context as when used in the discussion of some one deity level or association. When in doubt as to the exact interpretation of the word God, it would be advisable to refer it to the person of the Universal Father. You okay?
3段。
OK，4.1，按照我们的用法，神这个词可以理解为通过指定作为上父，根据上下文，如同于讨论特定神灵层次或神灵关联时，当对神这个词的确解释有疑问时，最好将其指代万有之父的位格。神这个词总是表示人格，神灵可能指的是神性人格，也可能不是。OK， 到这边是吗？ Do you hear right? 2.4 对不对？ 4.4 OK。
Okay. So so what they're saying is that when they're talking about God in this paper, when they designate, well, by designation, kind of when they refer to God, when they're talking of when they refer to God, they're talking about God the Father. When they're talking about the context, God in context, like when they're discussing a deity level or association, they're also talking about God. So they talk about God the Father and also the context of God the Father, in association. So okay, so I'll let you translate that.
这一段，就是那个他这个意义很清楚啊，他说的也是这个，跟这个原文也差不多，我觉得没有什么延伸的这个。
So, but they're saying if we are confused about exactly what they're talking about, how to interpret the word God in these papers, they said, if we're in doubt, just think of God as the universal Father. You can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong. If you think of God as the universal Father, you're always correct.
对，就是相当于通过指定，就是说，就是默认的哈，就指的是上父。然后呢，当然在上下文当中也有用这个词呢，是用来讨论特定神灵层次啊，神灵关联，也用到神这个词。但是当不太清楚这个词到底预表什么的时候呢，就是最好是回归它的默认那个意义，就是指代的万有之父，就是上父。
So remember, we're reading about God. In the section 2 was God. Section 1 was deity and divinity. So remember, deity and divinity were not necessarily personal. God is more personal. Everything that is divine comes from deity. But every deity is always divine, but divine is everything that is divine is not deity, but it's associated with deity.
上一节呢，我们是讨论的这个神性啊，神和神灵和神性嘛，就是神灵呢一定是神圣的，但是神圣的呢不一定是神灵，但一定是跟神灵是相联系的、相关联的。
And so now they're saying the term God always denotes personality. In the Urantia book, when they talk about God, they're always talking about the person of God, but they're saying deity may or may not refer to divinity personalities. Deity is not always referring to the person of God.
对，然后他这一段2.10呢，这一段就是强调呢，神这个词总是表示人格啊，但是神灵这个呢，不一定指神性人格。
And you know, whether it's the Trinity or the Creator Sons, all of these can be thought of as God or part of God, but they all have personality.
对，那我们知道三一神啊，什么造物之神、造物之子啊，那么他们都是有人格的，都是就是神的一部分。
See, when they talk about deity, they say deity is personal. I always have trouble with this word. Personalizable as God, pre-personal and super-personal in ways not altogether comprehensible by man. Deity is characterized by, I'm reading the section 1, is characterized by the quality of unity, super material levels of reality. So deity is personalizable as God, also pre-personal, super-personal. Deity is more than just God the person, goes beyond that, but God is God the person.
就是神灵呢，可以被人格化为神啊，并且还可以是准人格化、超人格化的，但是神这个词呢 ，God 这个词就是神灵的人格化啊，只要一提到 God， 那么就是他的已经人格化了的神灵。
The word, okay, I'm going to read. The word God is used in these papers with the following meanings. And I'll read, let's see, this is a big section, so let's see, how should I cut it up? I'll read the first 3. Okay, so, and then we'll read the next 4. Okay, or maybe we'll take one by one after that. So the first 3 are the short ones. So the word God is used in these papers with the following meanings. Number 1, God the Father, creator, controller, and upholder, the universal Father, the first person of deity. Number 2, God the Son. Okay, we're talking about the Trinity here. Coordinate, creator, spirit controller, and spiritual administrator, the eternal Son, the second person of deity. Number 3, God the Spirit, conjoint actor, universal integrator, and mind bestower, the infinite spirit, the third person of deity. Okay.
1、2、3。
1、2、3，在这些文献中，神这个词有以下含义： 1. 上父、造物者、控制者和支撑者，万有之父，神灵之第一位格。 2. 上子，协同造物者、属灵控制者和灵性管理者，永恒之子，神灵之第二位格。 3. 上灵，共同行动者，万有整合者和心智赐予者，无限之灵，神灵之第三位格。 4. 神之至高者，时空的
这个还没
实现。
到。
这个还没到呀。OK， 好 ，Thank you。
Interpretation to you?
Right, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
Self-explicit.
Get what you can out of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So now I think I'll take it paragraph by paragraph because this is the tricky part. So now I'll just read number 4 and each one by itself. So number 4, God the Supreme. So these are the when they use the word God in these papers, it means all of these 7 things.
对，当提到神啊 God 这个词的时候，它就是表示这所有的这七个方面。
And the first one is the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Spirit. And now I'm going to read the next 5 meanings.
对，先就是指的是
next
就是
one.
三位一体嘛，上父、上子和上灵。然后呢，第4方面就是神之至高者，他要读这一段。
Okay, God the Supreme. Number 4, God the Supreme, the actualizing or evolving God of time and space, personal deity, associatively realizing the time-space experiential achievement of creature-creator identity. The Supreme Being is personally experiencing the achievement of deity unity as the evolving and experiential God of the evolutionary creatures of time and space. And take it away.
All right，这个4，神之至高者，时空的实现或进化之神，在关联中实现受造物。造物者身份之时空经验达成的人格神灵，至高存在者作为时空进化受造物的演化和经验之神，正在亲自体验神灵合一的达成。OK，
So the key, one of the keys to understanding, I'm not saying I understand it. I don't understand it at all, but I try to. But one of the keys to helping you understand the Supreme is the word experience. It's all about experiential reality, experiencing reality on the finite level.
对，我也不太了解这个神之至高者，但是有一个词呢，叫经验的实相。那么，相当于他是一个经验之神嘛，在这个有限的时空里边达成经验的人格神灵。
So one of the key features of finite reality is change and evolution.
在有限的时空、有限的这个时空实相当中呢，就是特点就是变化和进化。
So there are other beings and other realities. God creates perfect worlds, perfect universes like Havona, perfect beings. But evolving beings like us are achieving perfection. We're striving for perfection. We're going from imperfection slowly over time to perfection by making decisions, by living, by existing. I mean, a physical evolution isn't even voluntary. It just happens whether we want it to or not, just by having generation after generation after generation of beings. Each one evolves a little bit. So the time-space reality is characterized by evolution.
对，时空塑造物的特点就是一个进化。那么进化呢，存有它就是要朝着完美不断的努力啊，慢慢的，就是就是操练自己做决定的能力呀，然后一代一代的这样的朝着更完美的目标进化。
So God is perfect, and God creates it because God is perfect. God can create perfect beings and perfect worlds, and he does, and he has, and there are perfect, but he also creates imperfect worlds and imperfect beings, and then he allows them to evolve towards perfection.
神是完美的，那么他可以创造完美的世界，完美的存有，像在哈瓦那中央宇宙的那些世界和存有，那么他也可以创造不完美的世界和存有，然后让他们慢慢进化到完美和存有，完美的世界和存有。
So God the Supreme is the actualizing or evolving God of time and space. So what God does is he creates this finite. God is infinite, but he creates a finite reality, and then a part of him actualizes or evolves with that finite reality. He becomes part of it, and he allows himself to evolve with it.
对，就是无限的神嘛，他创造有限的实相，那么他让他自己就是成为这个有限的实相的一部分，然后跟这个让他自己跟这个有限的实相一起来进化。
The only way I can say it is that instead of just creating a finite reality and watching it evolve, he decides to evolve with us.
有限的实相，他还决定跟我们一起进化。
So he becomes part of our evolution, and we become part of his evolution.
对，就相当于我们成为他的进化的一部分，他成为我们的进化的一部分。
So there's a part of God that is the supreme, that is God the Supreme, and how we evolve and what we do and what we say and what we feel and what we think, it all affects who this God the Supreme is, who he becomes. He becomes a part of everything we are.
那么这样就是神之至高者呢，就是相当于我们的每一身口意的行动呢，就都成为他的一部分，定义的塑形他成为什么样子。
So this God, the Supreme, which is a part of God the Father, won't be complete. He won't be perfect, and he won't be a complete and total deity or whole God, completed God, until all of the finite universes are completed, are completely evolved. His evolution will end when our evolution ends. When we achieve perfection, he will achieve perfection. He's evolving with us.
这神之至高者不跟他是天父的，万有之父的一部分。那么，他跟着我们这些有限的受造物一起进化， 我们就是有限的时候达到一种完美，它也就达到完美，就是我们完成了进化，它也完成了进化。
Now, after we finish reading the foreword, we're going to go back to the end of the book where we stopped, and we're going to read the paper on God the Supreme.
对，前言读完了，我们会读这个神之至高者那些的文章。
And one of the reasons we're reading the foreword is so that we can better understand it, because it's so hard to understand.
我们就是读前言呢，来加深我们对那些的文章的理解。
But one thing I know is that because we exist in the finite time-space reality, God the Supreme is very closely connected to our reality.
对，那么这个神至高者呢，他是因为存在在我们有限的时空的实相当中，所以跟我们的实相是最接近的。
I think when we get to the Urantia worlds, we'll understand God the Supreme much better than we do here.
那么当我们达到灵之界啊，在下世界的时候，也许对这个神之至高者会有更切身的体会和认识。
But a lot of the mysterious and synchronicity and providential things that happen all around us on this reality have direct are a direct result of the fact that God the Supreme is functioning with us on this reality.
对，就是有一些鲜艳的，就是一些神秘的体验啊，一些共识性啊，那些的预言式的，就是那种现象什么的，都是应该是证据，就是神之至高者他跟我们一起，那个一起工作啊，一起这个达成它的功能的一个结果。
So we think, oh, we're finite, we live in time and space, but God is infinite, God is perfect, God is absolute, God is beyond finite. But what he has done is he's just as he's given us thought adjusters to live inside us, he's also created part of himself that is actually finite. It exists in time and space, has a beginning. God the Supreme began when the finite universe began. God the Supreme, he's actually a part of the finite world. He's right here with us, doing this evolution with us. So he's very, very integrally involved in this aspect of reality.
对，对啊，神是无限的嘛，但是呢，思想调整者呢，他又在我们里边，那么他就是在我们这时空这个架构啊，这层次，它又可以是有限的。那么当我们的有限的宇宙开始的时候，他进来跟我们一起进化，那么他成为我们这个进化过程的实相的一个不可分割的一部分。
You could think of it like God it wasn't enough for God to just give us personality and give us a creator son and give us angels to guard us and let us evolve. He wanted to actually give a fragment of himself in each one of us. God wants to be that close to us, that involved in our lives. Well, okay, I'll let you translate that.
对，他就是不光给我们人格，给我们 护卫天使，他还把他的一个片段给了我们，跟我们一起进化。
But I think in a strange way, you could think of it like the way our thought adjusters live inside of each one of us. I think that God the Supreme is sort of like the thought adjuster for the whole finite universe.
嗯哼，就是可以一个类比啊，就是相当于神之至高者呢，因为你看我们每个人，个人哈得到一个神的片段，那么这个神之至高者相当于给整个的有限宇宙的这么一个思想调整者。
He is right here experiencing everything along with this evolving universe.
他就在这里哈，就是在这体验这个进化的宇宙当中所有的一切。
It is actually making him what he is. How we all evolve makes him what he is.
对。那么我们正在体验的所有的一切，造就他的所是。
Or definitely affects, I don't know if it makes him what it is, but it affects what he is.
或者是至少是影响他的所是。
Okay, so now God, and then I'll okay, number 5. Whew. The Supremo is always so difficult. Number 5. God the 7. It's not going to get easier. It's not going to get easier. 5, 6, and 7 are not going to get easier. I'm telling you.
对，神之七重
Take a
者也没有更容易，没有比神之至高者解释起来更容易。
Take a drink. If you're drinking alcohol, take a big drink now. If you're
要是喝酒的话，一大口吧。
If you're sipping tea, you might want to get a fresh cup.
要是喝茶的话，来再续一杯吧。
Okay, number 5, God the sevenfold. Deity personality anywhere actually functioning in time and space. The personal paradise deities and their creative associates functioning in and beyond the borders of the central universe and power personalizing as the supreme being on the first creature level of unifying deity revelation in time and space. This level, the grand universe, is the sphere of the time-space descension of paradise personalities in reciprocal association with the time-space ascension of evolutionary creatures. Okay, Anne.
OK， 5. 神之七重。5. 神之七重者，在时空的任何地方实际运作的神灵人格，在中央宇宙边界内外运作的天堂神灵本身和他们的创造伙伴，并在时空中统一神灵取势的第一个受造物层次上，力量人格化为至高存在者。这个层次大宇宙是天堂人格的时空沉降，与进化受造物的时空扬升相互关联的领域。OK，
Okay. Hold on one second. I'm just reading ahead a little bit, so. Okay, so God the sevenfold is okay, so okay, God the seven, the deity personality anywhere actually functioning in time and space. Okay, so God the sevenfold is, I think it's what they're describing as not just the supreme God the supreme, but also all of the deity personalities operating in time and space. So it not in paradise, not in Havona, but when you have any deities operating in the grand universe, the 7 evolving super universes, they're integrally connected to God the Supreme.
这个神之七重者，他就是不在天堂岛，也不在哈瓦那就中央宇宙，他是在那个大宇宙当中，7个进化的超级宇宙，跟那个就是相当于统合神之至高者的。
So they're, I mean, they're beyond, okay, creative associates functioning in it. So they're talking about paradise deities and their creative associates. They're definitely talking about, this definitely includes the creator sons and their creative spirit associates, because each creator of a local universe, the creator sons like Jesus Christ, have a creator mother spirit who they work with. That's what those are creative associates. Number 7, personality and their creative associates. So those are some creative associates. There's probably other types of paradise deities there may be other types of paradise deities who have other types of creative associates, but those are certainly some of the paradise deities and creative associates they're referring to here.
这里边提到那 the personal and their creative associates 和他们的创造伙伴，他就提到，比如说地方宇宙的造物之子啦、造物母灵啦，都属于这种的创造伙伴。
So when they say the personal deities and their creatives are functioning in and beyond the borders of this, okay, and power personalizing as the supreme being on the first creature level of unifying deity revelation in time and space. So the finite time-space universe is the first creature level of unifying deity revelation in time and space. So the supreme being is the unifying deity revelation in time and space. That is the supreme being. But when the association of the supreme being with these other paradise deities operating in time and space is what they mean by God the sevenfold.
神之至高者，他在这个时空这个受造物的层次上，这个天堂人格，它就是在时空这个受造物层次上，就是体现为这个神之至高者嘛。然后神之至高者在跟这个其他的天堂神灵的创造伙伴一起， 是不是就称为神之七重者？是这个意思。
So they're saying this level, this first creature level of this level, the grand universe, okay, the 7 super universes, is the sphere of the time-space dissension of paradise personalities in reciprocal association with the time-space ascension of evolutionary creatures. So it's like the supreme being. We're ascending, they're descending to us, and we're ascending to them. And that combination of them reaching down to us and us reaching up to them and trying to become perfect and evolving, this great combination is a force in itself. It's a God. It is God. It is very much a part of their interaction with us on our level is very much a part of God the Supreme. But this great interaction of all these deities with all these creatures evolving in time and space is God the sevenfold.
对，就是在这个界域里边，就相当于沉降的神和我们扬升的这个受造物，然后，就是在这个界域就是一个结合，一个相互作用。神之至高者和他们的创造伙伴有一个非常那个的大的结合和相互作用、相互交流。就是这样的一个结合，就叫神之七重者。
So these next three, so 5, 6, and 7, God the sevenfold, God the ultimate, and God the absolute. They are 3 levels of, they're 3 levels of unifying deity revelation. There are 3 levels of unifying deity. That's what they have in common. They're unifying. They're levels of unification. So God is unifying with all of his creation. He is becoming one with all of his creation. He's reaching out to his creation and merging with his creation on 3 different levels. The first one is the time-space level. The second is the ultimate. The third is the absolute.
对，创造主和受造物就是合一。那么在3个层次上达到这种统一和合一，一个是在时空的层次、有限的层次，然后在一个终极者、神之终极者的层次，然后在一个神之绝对者的层次。
Okay, I'm just reading about the levels. The third. So these levels have to do with God unifying expression. So the first level is about first creature level of unifying deity revelation in time and space. So he's revealing himself in time and space. So God is not as apparent. God has to reveal himself in time and space. On these higher levels, they're so godly, they're so spiritual that God is just very, very apparent everywhere. But on our levels, especially on the lower levels, like our level, he has to reveal himself. And he does that partly through the creator sons and creative daughters, creative sons and daughters, who create the local universes, and on many with many deities that come down to this finite level and oversee it, create it, oversee it, manage it, even come down and live with us as a human being like Jesus did on earth. Every local universe has a creator son who comes and lives with all the different beings on all the different levels. So there's a real unification with deity and a revelation of deity in time and space. And that's the first level of creature unification.
就是在时空的界域来揭示自己。那么，在比时空更高的那个界域，它就是比较更可见的。但是在时空的领域，它要通过自我揭示，通过那个造物之子、造物之女啊，就是宇宙的这些神灵啊，下降到有限的层次啊。来看护我们呢，甚至成为我们中的一员呢，像耶稣做的，这样来启示他自己，向这些有限受造物启示他自己。
我这里我有一个问题，就是这个 unifying 就是好处。具体是指的什么意思？是指这种是神灵之间是共享的这个意思，还是什么意思
？Shirley asked about the unifying. This words appear a few times. She doesn't quite understand what unify implicate.
Yes, I'm saying the word again and again because God, number 5, God the sevenfold says that says this is the first creature level of unifying deity revelation in time and space. And then number 6 says the second experiential level of unifying deity manifestation. And then number 7 says, this is the third level of unifying deity expression and expansion. So when they're talking about these levels, so, and each one mentions that it's unifying deity expression and expansion. So, or expression, and the first of unifying deity. See, the first one is deity revelation. The second one is deity manifestation. The third one is deity expression and expansion. So first he reveals himself. The next level, he hold on. Second level, the second level he's
manifestation 就是第一个
manifesting. Yes,
唯一的第一个层次是启示给我们，因为它是不可见的哈，应该我想。第二个层次是显化，它就是在合一的层次，它就是显化在这个终极者这个第二个经验层次。第三个经验层次是表达和扩展。神之绝对者，在神之绝对者，它是表达和扩展。
So the first level, he's revealing himself. The second level, he's manifesting himself. And the third level, he's actually expressing and expanding himself.
就是一步一步的从隐的到显的这么一个过程，从暗处到明处。因为只有在暗处我们不知道，我们才需要启示啊。就像这个 revelation， 就是这个月亮下之书，它就是一个 revelation， 一个启示。 给我们在这个时空领域，因为那个真相是不可见的嘛。大概在下一个实相层次，是不是就显化？它就是好像什么东西从土里长出来一样显化出来。然后呢，像开花结果了，它就是一个表达，一个扩展。这是我的感觉。
But they call each level the first level of unifying deity, the second level of unifying deity, the third level of unifying deity. So what they're unifying is uniting. So God is uniting on these three different levels. In other words, he's expressing himself, he's revealing himself, he's showing himself, he's becoming part of the reality. He does that on the finite level through the supreme, on the ultimate level. He does it well through I want to say through the ultimate, but
okay.
And on the absolute level, he actually expands himself. So the uniting is because on each level, he has a different way of uniting with that level of reality, infusing himself into that level of reality, becoming a very part of every atom, every molecule that exists in each different level. But he has to do it differently because each level is different. So he's able to reveal himself more on different levels, and like each level of reality is capable of understanding God on a higher level.
就合一嘛，合一就是它在不同的层次上，这个方式要不同，根据这个不同的层次，它的需要，它的它要渗透进，就是相当于这个造物主跟受造物，它要怎么样去结合嘛，在不同的层次结合的方式不一样，然后在时空的层次啊，它就是通过启示的方式，成为我们实相的一部分，在终极者甚至终极者的层次，它能够通过显化的方式，然后在神之绝对者的层次，它就可以达到表达和扩展，以此来作为它的合一的方式。
I mean, we as we evolve, we can expect to experience these different levels. God, I don't know about God. I don't know. I think God the Absolute might be, I don't know if any mortals have gotten to that point yet. I mean, even when you're in the mortal core of finality, I don't think you achieve God the Absolute yet. That's pretty high up. Anyway, okay, go ahead.
对，就是随着我们的进化层次的提高，我们达到这些的不同的合一的层次。那么他认为凡人很少有人能达到这个神之绝对者这个层次。
Did I read God the Ultimate, right? Number 6.
No.
I didn't read it yet?
No, I don't think so. 沈丽，他读了那个神之终极者了吗？读了吗？
我觉得是没有，刚刚是
没有，还没有。
No.
Okay. So, number 6, God the Ultimate, the eventuating God of supertime and transcended space, the second experiential level of unifying deity manifestation. God the Ultimate implies the attained realization of the synthesized absonite, superpersonal, time-space transcended, and eventuated experiential values, coordinated on final creative levels of deity reality.
6. 神之终极者，超越时空的终极之神，合一神灵表现的第二个经验层次。终极之神意味着综合的极限超人格，超越时空和终极经验价值得到实现，在神灵实现的最终创造层次上得到协调。All right, okay.
Okay, so I think we'll experience God the ultimate when we meet God in paradise, because this one is this level of this meaning of God is the transcended super time and transcended space. Okay, I'll let you translate.
他说这个神之终极者这个层次啊，也许我们在天堂遇到神的时候，面见神的时候才能达到，因为他相当于是超越时空的这个终极之神。
So they say the eventuating God of super time and transcended space. Super time. I that's an interesting word. I don't remember reading that word before. The eventuating God. Remember, eventuating is no beginning, absonite, of super time. So they're not and transcended space. So that's interesting. They don't say transcended time and space, and they don't say timeless and transcendence. They say super time. So there is some kind of time, but it's not like the finite time and space we're used to. That's very interesting. Well, no, because later they say time, space transcended later in the paragraph. So it's time, space transcended, but it's also super time. That's interesting.
对，他弄了一个词叫 super time，然后呢，这一段后边又有 time space transcended，相当于都是超越了时空的意思，但是他最开始用了一个 super time 超级时间这个词。
Well, I mean, you know, they say there is no. It's like there is. It's like what we said before. There is no beginning, but it starts with the first source, which the first. It actually exists in the center of the universe. So how could there's no time and space on a place? You know, you'd think if there was no time and space, there wouldn't be a place where there's no time and space. You know, so there's these strange dichotomies.
对，这个语言它就是这么局限。当我们说没有开始的时候，我们又说这个第一音、第一起源，好像就是有开始的意味。然后呢，说天堂超越时空的，但是又说天堂是一个地方反正就是这样矛盾，还是就不得不用的这些词汇。
So they say time, space transcended. They say super time, transcended space. Notice they don't say timeless, spaceless, at least not in this paragraph. They're not saying there is no time, there is no space. They're saying there's super time and transcended space. There's something, it's like super personality. They don't say no personality. They say super personality. So it's beyond personality. It's beyond time. It's beyond space. It's like the next level of personality, of time and space.
对，他说超越时空，他并没有说无时无空的。那么像一个super personality 超人格的，它就是相当于人格的下一个进展的阶段，它这样的。
So everything keeps going. There is no end. So that means that everything you realize, everything you experience, there's always a deeper experience or a higher experience or the next experience. If there is no end, there's also no stagnation. So if you keep moving forward, if you keep going, you're going to keep evolving, you're going to keep changing. So there always has to be, I mean, these are just the laws of nature. So there always has to be like the next greatest thing, like when you reach a goal, then the next goal has to be a little better than the goal you just reached.
对，所以朝向进化呀，完美的路径它是没有尽头的，那个没有停滞，一直在往前，总是在更深更高的层次去发展，这是自然的规律。那么如果你达到一个目标，总是会有下一个目标会更好。
So God the Supreme is trying to achieve time, space perfection, finite perfection. And God is right here doing it with us. And then when you get there, what happens? You go to the next level. That's God the ultimate. You're beyond time. Now you're beyond space. Now you're beyond that perfection. Now you're achieving another higher, different type of expression.
那么你在有限的界域达到完美之后，你要进到下一个层次，就是神之终极者。那么达到另外一个层次，就是更进一步的合一，跟神的合一。
You're on the ultimate level, you experience God on the ultimate level. So on each level, you're able to experience a different level of God. That's all you're capable of. You're not God, so you can't experience God on every level that God exists on, but you can experience God level by level as you are capable.
在不同的能量，不是，就是能力的层次体验不同层次、不同程度的跟神的合一。对，在低进化层次那个合一的比较低一些，在高进化，体会合一的层次就高一些。
There are beings created on the ultimate level. So they're created there. They live there. They understand God on the ultimate level. But we have to reach the ultimate level by going through the finite level first.
对，有些存有它就是被造就造在终极者的那个层次，我们是就是在低一点的层次，所以我们要经历这个有限的层次，来达到这个终极者的层次。
But God exists on these, well, they're saying these 3 levels. And he exists on these 3 levels, and he reveals himself on these 3, and he's united with everything on these 3 levels.
对，就是这3个层次，神存在的这3个层次当中，都存在。对，它在每一个层次当中都跟塑造物结合。
And the seventh the seventh phase of God as used in these papers. And the last section in section 2 is number 7, God the Absolute. The experientializing God of transcended superpersonal values and divinity meanings. Now existential as the deity absolute. This is the third level of unifying deity expression and expansion. On this super creative level, deity experiences exhaustion of personalizable potential, encounters completion of divinity, and undergoes depletion of capacity for self-revelation to successive and progressive levels of other personalization. Deity now encounters, impinges upon, and experiences identity with the unqualified absolute. Anne, it's all yours.
OK， 7神之绝对者，超越人格价值和神性意义的体验之神，现在作为神灵绝对存在，这是合一神灵表达和扩展的第3个层次。在这个超级创造层次，神灵经历了可人格化权利的终结，遇到了神性的完成，并穷尽了对其他人格化的连续和渐进层次上自我取识的能力。神灵现在遇到了无限定绝对，与之亲密接触，并体验到与他的认同。Okay.
Okay, so we're it's almost 10 o'clock. So this one is almost impossible to explain anyway.
这个是很难，几乎不可能去解释的，怎么解释？
This one is so far beyond our comprehension, but I'll give it a shot.
对，这远远超过我们理解范围和层次，我试一下吧。
All right, we'll take it sentence by sentence. The experientializing God. So it's still I'm surprised it's still experientializing because the second one was the eventuating God, which is sort of like no beginning. But now we have an experientializing, so he's still, I mean, I thought only God the Supreme was experientializing, but it turns out that God the Absolute is also experientializing. I'll let you translate.
我是认为神之至高者是经验之神，但是呢，一直到这个第3层，这个神之绝对者，他这个地方还说经验之神。
Okay, so the experientializing God of transcended super personal values and divinity meanings, now existential. Existential, that exists now. This is the let's just say the part of God that's transcended super personal values and divinity meanings. So it's like transcended every deity value and meaning that we can comprehend.
对，他这绝对这个他是说经验之神哈，超越这个什么人格价值、神性意义的体验，然后成为这个存在，神灵绝对存在。
Now, please know, future readers who are much wiser than we are, I I'm just taking a stab at this. I don't really know what I'm talking about when I talk about God the absolute. I'm just taking I'm just trying to guess what they're talking about.
我只是在猜，我就是当将来未来的读者可能比我了解的更多。我现在我不明白，但是我可以猜一猜。
But this is pretty clear. This is the third level of unifying deity. I mean, so that's pretty clear. It's first there's the God manifesting in the finite universes. Then there's God manifesting on the ultimate. And then the third level is God manifesting on the absolute level. And I don't think we're going to get there till, I don't think any mortal, my guess, I'm guessing that no mortal being has gotten to this level yet.
对，他就是这三个合一神的合一之神的表达，这个启示啊，彰显和表达的层次嘛。这第三个层次是合一神灵表达扩展的第三个层次。我说他认为凡人不可能达到的。
And so it says, on this super creative level, deity experiences exhaustion of personalizable potential, encounters completion of divinity, and undergoes depletion of capacity for self-revelation to successive and progressive levels of other personalization. Deity now encounters and binges on the experience of unqualified absolute. So they're saying on this super creative level. Okay, super creative. So God, I would think that means that God isn't necessarily creating on this level. It's super creative. That's beyond creation.
Super creating 是超级创造层次，他是认为这个超级创造层次就不是创造，就是在创造这个之外。
So then it says deity experiences exhaustion of personalizable potential. So that means all personality has reached its full potential. So even though God is experientializing on this level, but personality has reached its full potential. So that's why we can't conceive of it. We can only conceive of evolution going further and further and closer to God. They're saying personality is complete. It's reached its full potential. I mean, that's like beyond perfection.
对，那么这个经历了可人格化潜力的终结，就是说相当于人格就是完善了啊，完美了，在这个层次。
And then they say encounters completion of divinity. Well, remember in the last session we were talking about, I was saying that we think of divine as perfect, but this book was telling us that there are all different levels of divinity. Remember we were talking about that last week? Well, here they're saying that this encounters completion of divinity. So on this level of God the absolute, that's absolute perfection of divinity. Nothing can be more divine than this.
以前我们提到神圣的时候，我们就是头脑会认为神圣的就是完美的，但是实际上神圣的它还就是在不断的完善过程当中，这个地方呢，它就是遇到了神性的完成，那么就相当于 就是完成了，它就是完美。
So last week we were reading about divinity, and they were saying there's 7 characteristics of divinity. You know, absolute perfection in some phases, absolute perfection, relative, you know, they were saying that all different types of perfection and non-perfection, but at the absolute level, it's absolute perfection.
那么我们前面也提到，就是完美神性，完美7个不同的那个组合层次嘛，提到绝对完美啊什么的，那这部分完美啊，不完美啊，这个地方呢，在神之绝对者这个层次，他就遇到了神性的完成，就是绝对完美。
So they okay, so on the first level that God is revealing. On the second level, God is unifying, is manifesting, right, we said this, revealing, then manifesting, and then on this third level, this is the third level of deity expression and expansion. So God is expressing himself, but then it says undergoes depletion of capacity for self-revelation to successive and progressive levels of other. So on the first level, which was God the sevenfold, he was revealing himself. That's like God the supreme. Oh wait, I'll let you translate.
对，他又讲到这3个层次嘛，那神灵合一的第一个层次就是启示性的，神灵启示。第2个就是彰显的，神之终极者第2个经验层次，合一神灵表现第2个经验层次，神之终极者呢，它是彰显的。
And now,
神之绝对者呢是这个层次，是第3个神灵表达的第3个层次，就是是表达和扩展。
So now it says, on this level, undergoes depletion of capacity for self-revelation to successive and so he can't, depletion of capacity for self-revelation really means he can't reveal himself anymore. He's done all the revealing he can do. He's totally done with revealing. He can't reveal any more than this.
对，他这句话穷尽了对其他人格化的渐进，连续渐进层次上自我启示的能力，就相当于他全部把他的神性就启示给这个人格了，他没有可能再有更多的来那个，就没有隐的，就全都显在了，全都表达了。
So it says reveal 2 successive and progressive levels of other personalization. Well, I'm not sure what they mean by other personalization. They may mean other personalities, other beings who are personalized, or it could be other aspects of God, other, pre-personal or super, I'm not sure what they mean by other personalization. They may just mean other personalities, but it says encounters completion of divinity. Okay, completion, perfect, can't get any more perfect. undergoes depletion of capacity for self-revelation to successive and progressive levels of other personalization. So successive and progressive levels. So I think that all these other beings are succeed God. They're progressing, and God is always revealing himself to all these other personalities that are progressing. This is what it might mean, but he can no longer. He's revealed himself to the maximum, to these beings that are progressing. This is all you get, the absolute.
他也不知道就是这个 other personalization 是什么意思啊？反正 anyway 就是在这个神之绝对者这个层次呢，神就完全那个向人格彰显了，他自己或者在人格当中实现了神性的完成，就是没有在穷尽了嘛，就是没有可能再自我启示更多了，他把自己完全启示给了人格。也实现在了人格当中。
So so basically, since there's always something else, even past the absolute, it looks like there's an unqualified absolute. So this is basically the absolute that we can qualify. Even me, even I, a little lowly creature on Urantia, can try to explain what this absolute is, but the next level is the unqualified absolute. I think we're going to read about it next week, but I think it's beyond explanation.
对，他说这个地方呢，神之绝对的这个地方应该是指的是有限定的绝对，就是你看我们即使是一个这么计划程度低的凡人，我们也可以用语言在这儿试图解释它这个内涵。那么大概下个礼拜我们会读到这个无限定绝对啊，这个无限定绝对就是更下一步的更那个的。更高层次的绝对吧。
The absolute, I think in a way it's a good thing we can't understand it, because I think it would be a little too much for us to experience.
对，他说对，因为我们没有经验嘛，没有经验到这种的绝对，所以很难去表达清楚。
More than we could handle.
对，我们有限的头脑是没有办法处理这种概念的。Yeah.
Okay, we got through section 2.
Yes, good job, good job. 那我们今天就完成了就是前言第2部分的学习。Yep.
Now I need to sleep for 10 hours. Rest up, rest my mind.
对，要休息一下头脑，他要睡10个小时了，因为太累脑子了，穷尽了。Depletion of our mind power.
I have undergone the depletion of capacity for self-revelation.
对，自我启示这个能力用到了极限了。这些概念都是非常抽象难懂的，对，我们只能就是连猜带蒙的，对吧？后世也许有人会把这些概念解释得更清楚。Yeah, in future generation, there may be wise learner that can interpret this better than us today.
Yeah. Oh, they'll understand it perfectly, but I'm sure. I mean, it won't be hard for them.
Yeah, we just try our best,
Yeah.
但是我们那可以那个尝试从思想调整者那里得到启示。
对啊，我们能解释到这个程度已经是对吧？我们的心智试图从思想调整者那儿获得那个，但是我们心智的能力如果就这么大，那么他想给我们很多也给不过来啊。
对，但是就是说不是通过思维，是通过比如静心啊，去平息头脑来得到更多的启示，这也是一种途径。
对，就是比如说那 revelation 启示这个东西本身它就不是头脑有的，它就是从那个源头然后给我们的。
对，是的，所以我们那个读这个就是有一个初步的理解而已，就不可能是真正的解释。
What good stuff am I missing?
We are, because the revelation is whatever it's not cannot be comprehended by our mind completely. We have to admit this limitation.
Yeah. We could call it exhaustion of personalizable potential.
对，可以称之为就是他最后这一段叫穷尽了对其他人穷尽了我们的理解能力，穷尽了我们的自我启示的能力。对。
We each have our own absolute.
对，我们达到了我们个人的这个绝对，就是那个 limit。
But I mean, I think that I mean, we're making all these jokes, but I think we did pretty good on the absolute. I mean, I think there, we can't understand what it is, but I think we got a pretty good idea of what they're trying to tell us it is.
对，虽然我们不能完全的理解它，但是我们大概达到了一种大体的印象，就是这个到底想表达个什么？对，有一个方向了，至少。That's true.
At least for what we can comprehend. I mean, taking that into consideration, because
in one word, we are going to achieve a complete divinity. Although we are in the process of evolution, but eventually we are going to reach that ultimate realm, or absolute realm. That is our destination. Everyone come from there and goes there. Yeah, that's no doubts.
Yeah. I think when we meet God, we'll definitely experience the ultimate. That may be the first time. I don't know if we get to the ultimate before we meet God, but I would think we would get there when we meet God, because we'll be on paradise, and that's an ultimate experience.
他说就是我们面见神的时候，大概就是你能达到那个神之终极者那个层次。对，他因为他是说到了哈瓦那呀、中央宇宙啊、天堂岛啊那个级别，可能就是能达到的层次是那个神之终极者。这是他的猜想了。对 ，Yeah, a good guess.
Imagine if Anne and Shenli and you and I are all on paradise together.
Yeah, I hope so. We will come up together in the finaliter group.
In the core finality. I mean, imagine how much fun that would be to look back at our little Urantia study groups and going, when we first learned about these things. That would be so much fun to look back at our little beginnings.
But I think we can already be together at the local universe capital, the headquarters.
Right, you mean now or soon? You mean now?
No, now, before arriving the paradise.
Oh, no. Yeah, I meant all along the way. I mean, no, I don't mean we won't see each other until we get to paradise. No, on the Urantia worlds, on I mean, I think all along the way it would be fun, but I'm just thinking how like amazing it would be if we
Yeah.
actually got to paradise and we were like, well, here we are. We made it.
对，灵魂家族基本上都会一路相伴的。你看，像那个护卫天使都那么忠诚，何况这些灵魂家族就是有联系的，有这种很深的关联的这些灵魂，应该都是一直都在互相扶持的，不管在哪个生命阶段。因为我们都是互相的彼此，互相的自己，就是你是我另外一个我，我是另外一个你，都是这样一个相互的镜子一样的。Yeah, we are each other. We are each individual personality, but overall we are one person. Yeah, because God is one. We are just different fragments of God. We are all
Yeah, definitely.
one consciousness.
United. There you go with the word united.
Unifying. We are unifying deity. Yeah.
Well, we're part of the supreme, that's for sure.
对，我们至少这是现在是神至高者的一部分。对。
Oh, my cat is crying. He wants me.
Yeah. You go ahead and take care of your cat.
Mo wants me. Mo, what's wrong? What's wrong, Mo? Okay, I'll let you guys go.
Okay.
Thank you, Heidi. Have a good rest.
No, I'm only